Within the operating mechanism of one of the world's oldest institutions, each member is not merely an individual, but a systemic anchor. Recently, observers have begun to question whether a form of turbulence is emerging in the flow of power at Buckingham Palace. Some hypotheses suggest that a quiet shift in influence may be taking place between Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton. Are the so-called tensions highlighted by the media simply personal jealousy, or are they the outcome of a power algorithm designed to re-establish order in a new era? When a new symbol of devotion begins to rise, how does the old system respond in order to preserve its position? In historical analysis, there is a concept known as the weight of choice. Unverified sources are now sketching a picture of deep internal reflection within King Charles III himself. Rumors speak of silent confessions not expressed in writing, but revealed through decisions that subtly alter the trajectory of the monarchy. If the hypotheses about regret are true, are we witnessing an attempt at internal systemic purification? Could it be that behind the splendor of ritual, the king is confronting a psychological struggle between dynastic duty and personal legacy? A deeper truth seems to be emerging, one that suggests the unresolved knots of the past, from the symbolic marriage to Princess Diana to his enduring love for Camilla, have become decisive variables shaping the future of the throne. Looking back at the milestone of 1981, when 750 million people witnessed a fairy tale wedding, the system at the time projected an illusion of perfection. Yet from an investigative perspective, it may have been the starting point of a chain of errors that lasted for decades. When traditional values collided with modern emotional needs, the royal structure revealed fractures that no glossy veneer could conceal forever. Charles, standing at the crossroads of two historical currents, may understand better than anyone that a crown is not forged from gold alone, but tempered by sacrifices that cannot be undone. We are standing at the threshold of a new chapter, where history seems to be rewritten through whispers from within the palace itself. Are the events we witness merely the visible tip of an iceberg beneath which the private choices of one man have the power to unsettle an entire empire? In your view, does the future stability of the British royal family depend on preserving tradition or on having the courage to confront the miscalculations of the past? Share your perspective from the standpoint of a systems analyst in the comments below. History never truly disappears. It merely transforms from one form into another. Systems analysts often refer to a concept known as echoing legacy. The departure of a humanitarian icon in the past left a profound void in the monarchy's operating algorithm. That warmth and boundless ability to connect inadvertently established a new benchmark for anyone aspiring to step into leadership. And there we see the emergence of Kate Middleton, regarded as the ideal variable to decode this equation. D. Is her rise not simply the result of public affection, but rather because she has successfully integrated the source code of grace and compassion into a system known for its rigidity? Since the milestone of September 2022, when a new title was conferred, we have witnessed a surge in what could be called a social resonance index. Kate is no longer merely playing the role of a royal family member. She is increasingly perceived as a symbol of balance. Unlike traditionally distant images, her approach to issues such as mental health and early childhood education has created a sense of direct connection with the public. This raises a fundamental question. When an individual becomes too prominent and commands overwhelming public trust, does it inadvertently create a phase shift within the established hierarchy of power? This is where the narrative grows more complex. In a system where every position carries its own weight, the radiant rise of a new star can cast shadows over other roles. Some viewpoints suggest that the public's near-absolute admiration for Kate has generated a form of systemic psychological pressure. Speculation about dissatisfaction on the part of Queen Camilla has begun to surface in the form of hypotheses about strategic jealousy. Could this be a natural response of an established structure when it senses its influence narrowing? Even King Charles III is said to have noticed this shift. Is his composure a sign of tacit consent, or a careful observation of a future in which the universal appeal of the heir might eclipse the role of the reigning crown? Are we witnessing a gentle transfer of soft power, or a quiet struggle to preserve standing in the public's heart? If the universal appeal of a single individual can reshape an entire institution, will the monarchy evolve to adapt to Kate Middleton? Or will the system attempt to recalibrate her radiance in order to preserve the old order? If the monarchy is viewed as a vast machine, Kate Middleton appears to have discovered a new source code for operating it. Observers suggest that she is not merely a royal family member, but a transitional zone where regal refinement is blended with the emotional frequency of the modern public. Her rise since 2011 has not been accidental. It is the result of a sustained process of synchronization, preserving the necessary conservatism of a future queen while simultaneously creating an accessible interface. She is not distant. She has become a symbol of stability in a volatile world. In contrast, Queen Camilla's journey can be likened to swimming against the current within a system burdened by legacy errors. Although the coronation on May 6, 2023 officially formalized her position, it has yet to fully erase the lingering noise variables carried over from the past. Within Buckingham's power matrix, one pivotal navigation hub cannot be overlooked: Prince William. If King Charles III is striving to keep the current machinery running, William is quietly rewriting the source code for the future. His unwavering support for Princess Kate is not merely marital affection, but a strategy of synchronization. William understands that for the institution to avoid obsolescence, it needs an interface capable of strong interaction with the public. Yet this alignment has inadvertently created a clear generational distance between their camp and Queen Camilla. Under an investigative lens, the relationship between William and his stepmother Camilla has long been regarded as a sensitive data zone. While the outward appearance remains one of ceremonial respect, analysts suggest that William is implementing a form of historical isolation protocol. He shields Kate from the gravitational pull of the past while simultaneously establishing a new center of power at Kensington Palace, one where Kate's influence is optimized without requiring validation from the old system. Does this separation represent preparation for a decisive transfer of power? Or is it the spark that could ignite internal fragmentation? One hypothesis suggests that in the public mind, Princess Diana is not a historical figure who has passed, but an immutable constant. Her presence is so powerful that it creates a filter of bias through which every charitable effort and every act of dedication by Camilla must pass. Despite her tireless work to reposition her personal image, the malware of 1990s media headlines still resurfaces from time to time, disrupting the social system's process of acceptance. The disparity in approval ratings between Kate and Camilla has created a dynamic that analysts describe as a symbolic energy imbalance. On one side stands Kate, the embodiment of a fresh, untarnished beginning filled with promise. On the other is Camilla, the embodiment of perseverance, yet one forever associated with the fractures of the past. Could the rumored jealousy, if it exists, actually be the resistance of an old system confronted by the overwhelming radiance of a new system? As Kate effortlessly captures the hearts of millions, Camilla's decades-long efforts suddenly appear more muted than ever before. This may not be merely a matter of personal emotion, but rather an imbalance in symbolic stock value within the public consciousness. When the world witnessed the close of an era on September 8, 2022, the royal system did not only lose a monarch, it lost a defining identity constant. The passing of Queen Elizabeth II left an immense symbolic vacuum. Yet in analyzing the new variables, observers have noted a curious phenomenon, a remarkable synchronization. Kate Middleton appears to carry a kind of spiritual genetic code that resonates with both the late Queen and Princess Diana. Could her remarkable rise stem not merely from appearance, but from her role as a safe buffer zone where rigid tradition is softened by modern sincerity? When she engages with children or speaks openly about mental health, the system itself seems to recalibrate, becoming more compatible with the 21st century. Within a strictly hierarchical mechanism, the radiance of a satellite can sometimes overshadow the center. Quiet hypotheses are now circulating about underlying tensions in the relationship between Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales. Under an investigative lens, we see a stark contrast. On one side is Camilla, who has been working persistently to consolidate her position after decades spent in the turbulent zone of old tabloid controversies. On the other is Kate, who appears to have captured the public's trust market share almost entirely. Could the jealousy rumored by the media actually be a form of system-protective reaction? As Kate's influence begins to extend beyond the boundaries of protocol, it inadvertently casts a shadow zone over the Queen's official role. Some unverified sources suggest that Kate's ease in winning over younger generations is creating an invisible pressure on those currently bearing the responsibilities of leadership. The relationship between Camilla and Kate is not merely a mother-in-law/daughter-in-law story, but a collision between two existential mindsets. Camilla represents the persistence of rebuilding a legacy from the ruins of the past, while Kate embodies a future that appears unblemished. Kate's meteoric rise in popularity since September 2022 seems to have sent a powerful message to Buckingham Palace. Real power does not lie in titles but in emotional resonance with the public. This places King Charles III in a difficult position at the helm of a ship guided by two lighthouses shining at once, yet emitting entirely different frequencies of light. Within an institution where speech is tightly controlled, the British royal family relies on a different communication protocol: visual sign language. Every outfit worn by Kate Middleton or Camilla is not merely a fashion choice, but a data packet transmitted directly to the public. Kate Middleton consistently employs color palettes and accessories that are heritage compatible. Her decision to rewear jewelry belonging to Princess Diana or Queen Elizabeth II functions as a powerful act of identity authentication. It signals to the social system, I am the legitimate continuation of the most beloved values. By contrast, Queen Camilla opts for a restrained style, at times deliberately receding into the background to minimize visual conflicts with the past. Yet this very contrast produces an unintended effect. While Kate shines like a beam of modern blue light, Camilla is inadvertently pushed into the shadow of old memories. Analysts have begun to ask, is Kate's repeated activation of Diana's memory through fashion a psychological strategy to maintain an advantage in the battle for public support? A wordless yet weighty reminder of one lingering question: who truly holds the soul of the crown? The power system at Buckingham is witnessing a quiet reordering. Kate Middleton appears to have successfully decoded the source code of warmth and compassion, the legacy left behind by a past icon, to construct an unblemished model for the future. By contrast, Queen Camilla is still striving to process the historical errors of the past in her search for full acceptance. A hypothesis emerges. Is Kate's extraordinary radiance the driving force that helps the monarchy adapt to a new era, or does it inadvertently become a shadow zone that eclipses the existing traditional order? When public trust becomes the unit by which power is measured, who truly holds the key to the empire? Faced with this shifting landscape of symbols, what are your thoughts on the figure currently commanding the media spotlight? Leave 2, if you support renewal and the influence of a future-oriented symbol. Leave 5, if you believe the old order deserves to be preserved and respected. Hit like and subscribe now, so you don't miss upcoming deep dives and bold hypotheses uncovering the secrets behind the crown. Since the historical pivot shifted in September 2022, the monarchy has not only witnessed a change of reign, but also a sweeping restructuring of image. Kate Middleton no longer appears as a supporting figure. She has become a core node in the algorithm of the new operating system. Through an analytical lens, her rise is far more than the execution of duty. It is a process of value redefinition. By connecting with all layers of society through initiatives on mental health and early childhood development, Kate has inadvertently established a modern interface for an institution long perceived as distant and out of touch. See. Many hypotheses suggest that she is precisely the solution, allowing this system to remain compatible with Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Yet every shift generates friction. Astute observers have detected a subtle emotional frequency mismatch within the stone walls of the palace. Although King Charles III has formally established Queen Camilla's position behavioral data point to an invisible distance between her and the future symbol that is Kate Middleton. This restraint is believed to stem not from personal conflict, but from the lingering presence of an old legacy code. Princess Diana, though long gone, continues to exist as an eternal constant in the public consciousness. When Kate displays grace and compassion, the system immediately recognizes her as the true heir to that energy source. This gives rise to a systemic paradox: who holds the title and who truly holds the soul of the monarchy? While Camilla has spent decades attempting to repair fractures in public trust, Kate's radiant and seemingly effortless presence appears to have created a new reference pressure. There are hypotheses of a covert struggle for recognition, where every gesture and every glance becomes a chess piece on the board of soft power. The absence of warmth between these two most powerful figures may well be a sign of a self-adjusting system recalibrating itself in response to variables from the past and expectations for the future. In a system where public attention is treated as the primary fuel source, the surge of the Kate frequency has generated a phenomenon observers describe as light dominance. Queen Camilla, who has spent decades relentlessly rebuilding her image from the shattered fragments of her past, is now facing an unpredictable variable. Unverified sources are sketching out a so-called covert campaign behind the scenes. Rather than challenging directly, there are theories suggesting that Camilla is implementing a repositioning at the center strategy, enhancing her presence at high-profile events and further tightening the symbolic bond with King Charles III. Is this an effort to remind the system where the official crown still resides? A detail that stands out in this investigation is the reaction of King Charles III, the control center of the system. There are rumors circulating within the palace halls that the king has noticed the shift in this soft power dynamic. A bold hypothesis arises. Have there been private conversations of strategic realignment, where the king urged adaptation to the irreversible flow? In the modern world, a monarchy cannot survive without the resonance of the youth, where Kate Middleton holds an unrivaled position. Camilla's existence is the constant of duty, but Kate's rise is the variable of survival. Camilla is not simply sharing the spotlight. She may be striving not to be reduced to a blurred point in the future picture. Her subtle moves, from aligning with key social causes to demonstrating unwavering solidarity with the king, could be seen as executive orders to protect her position as consort queen. However, the big question remains, as an ideal figure like Kate, regarded as the spiritual heir to the greatest legacies, continues to shine, will all efforts to reinforce the traditional position become futile? King Charles III has spent nearly a century preparing for the moment of receiving the crown, yet it seems there was no ceremonial curriculum to prepare him for this internal turbulence. Observers note that the king finds himself caught between a chessboard where the responsibility to the dynasty collides head-on with complex emotional variables. An underground battle is believed to be taking place between the two most important satellites of the throne, the traditional stability of Queen Camilla and the modern appeal of Duchess Kate Middleton. Is this simply a matter of personal jealousy? Or is it a natural rejection reaction of an old system in the face of such a perfect entity? The most astonishing element in this investigation is the emergence of a historical constant, Princess Diana. Though decades have passed, her legacy has not disappeared, but seems to be re-encoded through Kate Middleton. Kate is not merely fulfilling duties. She is emitting the same energy frequency that Diana once possessed: warmth, an ability to connect without barriers, and a naturally graceful demeanor. Kate's rise is like a mirror unintentionally bringing to life memories that the royal system had once tried to close. For King Charles, Kate's fame may be a comfort, but it is also a painful reminder of the historical missteps that cannot be corrected. Charles is facing the hardest task of his royal life, maintaining balance in a system that is emotionally fractured. On one side is his partner Camilla, who has weathered public storms with him to establish their current position. On the other side is the new face of the nation, who carries the responsibility of ushering the royal family into the modern era. Experts analyzing the system propose a hypothesis. Could the king's silence be a sign of a peaceful settlement, or is he quietly accepting the truth that history is repeating itself in a more subtle way? Queen Camilla's journey could be likened to a solitary expedition to re-establish her position from negative ground. For decades, she has had to operate in a rejection system, where every step she took was shadowed by public prejudice and contempt. And just when she believed she had reached the balance of recognition, a new variable emerged. Kate Middleton's rise is not just a typical ascent. It creates a halo effect that overshadows. Insider sources have begun to sketch out a heightened sense of vigilance. Is there an underlying resentment when witnessing a younger figure effortlessly claim the emotional market share that she has spent her entire life fighting to build? King Charles III currently stands at the center of a reflective vortex. He is not only governing a kingdom, but also trying to manage the emotional cracks within his own family. His efforts to reassure Camilla seem to be nothing more than a facade for a deeper skepticism. Does true trust really exist when the ghosts of the past have never truly left? Through the lens of investigation, a haunting hypothesis arises. In moments of stillness, is the king silently conducting his own historical interrogation? As Charles observes how Kate Middleton operates the system with such excellence and natural grace, he may be seeing the reflection of the Diana constant, someone whose power of compassion he once failed to decode. Could this eerie similarity have sparked an equation of regret, the awareness of an irreparable loss now manifesting in his very own successor, The monarchy does not fear change, but it fears internal division. Charles knows better than anyone that any misalignment between Camilla and Kate could lead to a widespread image crisis. He is forced to play the role of a coordinator of the flow of power, trying to keep the fire of jealousy from burning down the stability he has worked so hard to build. Faced with the disparity in symbolic energy, King Charles III has implemented a governance strategy that experts call calculated harmony. He is deeply aware that the monarchy's survival in the digital age depends on the Kate variable, but its internal stability lies in the Camilla axis. By orchestrating these carefully crafted joint appearances, the king is attempting to send a message of unity. However, behind these perfectly framed moments, insider sources still detect areas of disturbance. This is not just about positioning. It is a desperate effort to prevent a crisis of trust from erupting if one of the two satellites feels their orbit is off. A significant shift is taking place in the structure of responsibility. Kate Middleton has been entrusted with more strategically important duties. She is no longer merely a domestic icon. She has ascended to become the international face of the monarchy. Kate's presence alongside world leaders and her leadership at state events serve as a profound testament that the system is betting on her charisma to maintain its relevance in the modern world. However, every stride Kate takes inadvertently creates a pressure of obsolescence on Queen Camilla's role. As one side emerges as the definitive symbol of the future, the other is easily labeled as a vestige of a bygone era. She is no longer just a domestic symbol. She has become the international representative face. Kate's appearances alongside world leaders and her leadership in state-level events serve as evidence that the system is betting on her appeal to maintain its connection with the modern world. However, each of Kate's advances inadvertently creates a rejection pressure on the role of Queen Camilla. When one side becomes the symbol of the future, the other is easily labeled as the remnant of an old era. We stand on the threshold of one of the most crucial variables in the contemporary history of Buckingham Palace. For decades, King Charles III has operated a steadfast strategy, protecting at all costs the presence of Queen Camilla, who has stood by him through the harshest public storms to establish a legitimate position. Yet as he ascends to the peak of power, he now faces a more unforgiving reality than the controversies of the past. Through the lens of system analysis, a deep contradiction is emerging within the monarchy's inner core. On one hand, there is loyalty to the past, and on the other, the survival of a 1,000-year-old institution. Kate Middleton appears not just as a royal family member, but as a lifeline algorithm. Could it be that the very qualities once considered dangerous to the old, order, the natural brilliance and intense magnetism of Princess Diana, are now the source code that can help the monarchy align with the modern world? Kate's rise on the international stage is not just a diplomatic mission. It is a dramatic transfer of soft power. As her influence reaches an irreplaceable level, a massive shadow has inadvertently been cast over Camilla's efforts to solidify her position. Charles now finds himself in a dilemma. Can he maintain the balance between one side being the constant of emotional ties and the other being the variable of survival? The underlying tension within the palace is likened to simmering lava beneath the glossy surface of ceremonial grandeur. When dissatisfaction reaches its tipping point and the public's admiration is concentrated on one side, the system will inevitably undergo a self-correction. It will be the moment when Charles must make a fateful decision. continue to protect the old order, or bravely embrace a new future where the shadows of the past once again hold the crown far. This is not just a personal confrontation, but a puzzle about the survival of an empire in the new era. The truth is likely still being written behind the closed doors of the palace, where every choice comes with its cost. This is merely for reference based on hypotheses and unverified public rumors/opinions. Let's discuss this matter from an objective analytical standpoint. Don't sit still. Let me know your reaction. Press 1 for curiosity and a desire to explore more. Press 0 for cautious skepticism. Hit like and subscribe now to join me in uncovering the mysteries behind the veil of power in the upcoming videos.